LA Noire by Team Bondi is a curious title. It's easily the best detective game ever produced, as well as gaming's strongest link to classical 1940s cinema. Yet it's also a fairly straightforward and basic video game that sticks to tried and true systems without taking any extra steps. It was published by Rockstar Games and sits under their banner of open world, adult-oriented titles. Ever since Grand Theft Auto 3 in 2001, the publisher has put out hit after hit, and this certainly aided LA Noire's publicity. With every release that comes out of the company, there's a balancing act that all sandbox games have to consider. Do they put story aside and let players go on a no-holds-barred crime spree, or get more concise and tell a mature story? LA Noire fits into the latter category. Taking place in late 1940s Los Angeles, you play Cole Phelps, a decorated World War II veteran who joins law enforcement, gradually working his way through the divisions and detective ranks. But as you play through, it appears that the aspiring member of the force has some secrets of his own beneath the surface. Put in his shoes, you'll interact with the haves and the have-nots, a string of washed-up dreamers, and come up against more than a little corruption as Phelps works the streets. If Grand Theft Auto is the definitive crime simulator, and Bully is the middle ground beneath it, LA Noire is the antithesis of both, encouraging a keener eye and more careful levels of play. It follows an episodic format, with each of the 21 cases almost acting like a day-in-the-life story. The biggest difference from its contemporaries stems from the perspective. As a member of justice, you're billed and ranked for how civil you are, which includes damages to civilians, public property, and your own vehicle. Of course, whenever anyone talks about the game, they usually home in on the ambitious and still incredibly detailed facial animations, powered by the in-house software Motion Scan. Upon its release in 2011, LA Noire trumped every other game on the market in this field, even besting the likes of Kojima Productions and BioWare. It really gets you into the role of crime solver as you deduce the reaction on an NPC's face and conversations. The game's atmosphere is also unparalleled. The film noir crime drama is laced with both dazzling sights and endless intrigue, and LA Noire taps into this thread with purpose to tell its story. These facets were both incredibly well received at the time, but the game surrounding these elements feels a bit rigid, dare I say it, very subpar in places. Outside of turning off the item prompts, there's very little in the way of dynamic interaction. Combat feels particularly stilted. It's a simplistic cover shooter with little room for experimentation. The most glaring omission, I feel, is the lack of non-lethal takedowns. Surely, as an officer of the law, there should be benefits for wounding and arresting suspects rather than killing them. Instead, the game only allows you to arrest at specific moments. This archaic design of eliminating all enemies doesn't really fit in LA Noire. Some might argue that the game's other qualities make up for this, but if you look at how Red Dead Redemption incorporated a deeper set of third-person systems the year before, most notably the lasso, it's odd that Team Bondi didn't take as much inspiration in this area. It's also a very railroaded experience throughout, with controls feeling automatic at times and the game often handling several actions for the player rather than letting them do it themselves. Accessible as this may be, LA Noire's core gameplay outside of the investigation is probably the shallowest of the open world genre. Other issues crop up around the open world. While the locales are incredibly well rendered for the time, there just isn't so much to do outside of driving to locations, a set amount of felonies on the street, and occasionally coming across a landmark or two. In 2010, 2K's Mafia 2 received similar criticism for having little to do in its open world, and a year after that game's shortcomings, LA Noire needed more dynamic events to switch up the pace while reflecting the unpredictable nature of police work. The biggest missed opportunity I feel was the Battle of Sunset Strip. Taking place from 1947 to 1956, crime bosses like Benjamin Bugsy Siegel and Jack Dragner of the LA Mafia fought each other for territory. Had this been included in some form in LA Noire, it could have created a running thread of crimes that tied the open world to Cole's rise through the ranks, with random gang fights occurring as you drive around the city. LA Noire's cases were inspired by some real-life crimes, and adapting Sunset Strip might have taken things a step further. In retrospect, it's likely that all the budget that went into recording dialogue and motion capturing ended up costing the game in other areas. According to an article in Mike by Alex Borkowski, the entire motion scan system, consisting of 32 cameras, came with a whopping $192,000 price tag. LA Noire costed $50 million to make. and it appears that Team Bondi, in their bid to make the most realistic facial expressions for a video game, almost burned themselves out on writing and technology costs, and were unable to bring the same attention to detail across the entire package. It's why the game part of LA Noire feels half-baked, at least for me personally. In 2017, LA Noire was re-released on current-gen systems, while also making its way to virtual reality with the virtual case files, which has sparked further speculation over a possible follow-up. With Team Bondi shut down after parting ways with Rockstar shortly after the game's release, it's difficult to tell when or how the franchise may return. Team Bondi's only product stands as a consistently ambitious, if flawed, cult favourite. If a sequel is announced, I'll be intrigued to know how a more cohesive experience can be crafted. Thanks for watching. LA Noire is still pretty popular in the gaming community and does deserve a second run for its unique setup in the crime genre. If you liked the video, you can check out my channel and follow my blog at the links in the description.